Ahmad Khan Rahami has been caught. He is the man who placed 3 bombs in the tri-state area, one of which went off in the Chelsea neighborhood of New York, injuring 29 people. Now, authorities engaged in a shootout with him and then were able to get him in custody. But what's now emerging from this story is what his family is having to deal with due to people attacking them and the restaurant that they own. So it turns out that his family owned a restaurant, the first American fried chicken restaurant in New York. No, I'm sorry, in New Jersey. I apologize. First American fried chicken is an interesting name for a restaurant. Let's just get that out of the way.
Immigrants are funny.
They really are.
Like my dad used to say the before everything, right?
Yeah.
The Anna has done a good job with this story. Well, this story is true. But
This is such a New York, New Jersey thing. Restaurants that are named like that.
yes.
Yeah. So anyway, so Yelpers are now going onto the page where you can leave reviews for the restaurant, and they're, you know, leaving some pretty vicious comments. Now, let me just say that his family hasn't been accused of wrongdoing. The restaurant is owned by his dad. It seems as though he was radicalized on his own. His family had nothing to do with it. In fact, his family had reported him for terrorism 2 years ago. We'll get to that in just a second.
So the Muslim dad turned his own son in. So because of that, you know what you should do? Punish the Muslim dad. Brilliant idea.
But here, look, this is the thing. People are understandably upset about what happened, right? And I think that when emotions are high, they're not going to look into evidence to see if the family was involved. They're not going to read every detail of the story. It's emotion, and people feel scared, they feel paranoid. And so look, if they're attacking these people physically and trying to really cause harm to them, well, then it's bound, like they're going way beyond the bounds of reason. But in this case, they're leaving shitty reviews on Yelp. Right,
Yeah.
and so
Look,
it's not the end of the day.
I hear you. It could be a lot worse. But what I'm asking people to do is to be reasonable under all circumstances. I know that sometimes it's too much to ask for. Look, after we read you these, I'll tell you my personal connection to
First American fried chicken?
no,
Okay.
to where the bombs went off and how it could have affected my life. And then we'll talk about that context, because it could have affected me a great deal, as you'll find out. But first, here's what they did.
All right, let's put up the first review on Yelp. Tried to order some chicken, but they told me they used all the pots and pans to make IEDs they placed around town this weekend. Okay, another one. Let's take a look. Their chicken is heavenly, totally worth the threat of being blown to pieces. I'll take 72 virgins and a bucket of wings, please. At least that person gave the restaurant 5 stars.
And look, I get it. Like you said, it's not the end of the earth because they're mainly kidding around.
Yeah.
It's not a great thing to kid around about. And just, I'm worried that it leads to worse things. And so if it's just leave it at the Yelp reviews, we'll all survive, no biggie, right?
Yeah, and Yelp is cleaning up the page, by the way. So if you go to the page right now, or at least as we're talking about this story, you'll see that notice saying that they're actively cleaning up the page of false reviews.
Okay, so the bomb in New York went off next to where one of my best friends used to live. And he was in the middle of moving, so I was in a panic the minute I heard a bomb went off in that neighborhood. He lives right there, not a little bit near it, right there. And so I know 29 people were injured, some were in the hospital. So I frantically emailed, called, etc. And it turns out, thank God, he had moved the week before and happened to be in Connecticut anyway, but his family had moved. Because he's got 3 kids, they're in that neighborhood, okay? And then one of the bombs went off in New Jersey, and my parents live in New Jersey. So now it wasn't in the town that my parents lived in, so it was that I was less worried about that, to be honest, from a personal point of view, although of course I'm worried about it for everybody. And so this affected me personally. He could have killed one of my best friends. And he is horrible guy, he's an idiot, there's 1,000 adjectives I could give to the bomber. But in my anger towards him, if we strike out at his parents who didn't do it, or people that look like him, or people that are from his religion, which by the way, could have killed people like my parents, they're born Muslim, could have killed them, right? And then what? You're going to get angry at all of them. Even in a moment of anger, I'm asking you to try to be reasonable and not to overreact, because it doesn't help.
Yeah.
It's almost always counterproductive. Like this moron, the bomber himself. It's like, oh yeah, I'll show these guys, I'll do a bombing right before an election with a guy who is totally anti-Muslim, and this will help him tremendously in his campaign. Boy, you showed him. You really showed him.
It
couldn't have been more counterproductive.
I know, but look, people who engage in this kind of behavior are not rational, logical people, right? Terrorists are not logical, rational people. Now, there was some speculation that he was part of a larger cell operating in, the Manhattan area or maybe in New Jersey. And so authorities are continuing this investigation. They're saying that they don't think at the moment that he's part of some sort of, a larger cell, some sort of operation or group of terrorists that want to attack Americans.
So can I just say to that point, Anna, part of the reason his dad turned him in a couple of years ago was because he had attacked his brother.
Yeah, he had stabbed his own brother. So his dad alerted the authorities and told them, look, my son's not doing well. I think he's a terrorist. You guys need to investigate him. And his father alleges that the FBI did an investigation and eventually they found that he did nothing wrong. Or that he wasn't a terrorist, not that he did nothing wrong. He served 3 months in jail for stabbing his brother. I do want to be clear about something, though. His father later came forward and said that he turned his son in a moment of anger and that he recanted the statements. But nonetheless, he still says that the FBI did an investigation, and the FBI knew who he was immediately. So
you have this guy, if he was not Muslim, you would say weirdo puts bombs in a, dumpster bin, which, by the way, thank God he was that stupid. It's hard to get a bomb to explode the dumpster bin so bad that it kills people. It injured 29 people. It was bad enough as it was. So the guy's a total moron, off his rocker. His own family had turned him in. He stabbed his own brother. If he was just a regular old, American that wasn't Muslim, you'd say, yeah, that's a crazy guy.
Yeah.
But since he's Muslim, he's a crazy terrorist guy, which I don't care. Yeah, you try to bomb people. You want to call them terrorists. Go ahead. Go ahead. But what I'm telling you is, it doesn't mean anything for anyone else. It just means he's the bad guy.
He's the bad guy, and guilt by association shouldn't be a thing, right? So, and what I mean by that is, if a family member or friend is found of no wrongdoing, they shouldn't be persecuted, okay? They shouldn't be dealing with the court of public opinion and vigilante justice. So I do worry about that. Yelp reviews, I don't care. People say stupid things on the internet all the time, right? And I do think that a lot of these Yelpers were just trying to be funny.
Yeah.
But don't cause actual physical harm to innocent people who didn't have anything to do with this.
And if you're a real Christian, the sins of the father shall not be passed on to the son, nor should the sins of the son be passed on to the father. You power the young Turks. We do this all through membership. tytnetwork.com/join. Let's build a media that we can believe in.